Welcome back, everyone, to another round of My Patriot Report Live. I am Ratwan Hill, service disabled veteran, the bridge between the next generation and federal contracting. And I sit at the footsteps of this individual right here, Mr. Walter Cotton III, the first national, the first service disabled veteran on small business national spokesperson, the individual who co-authored the legislation known as the SBA Mentor Protege Program, and the individual responsible for helping the service disabled veteran-owned small business community move the contract needle from 750 million to well north of 19 billion. Mr. Walter Cotton III. Mr. Cotton, how you doing today, man?
I'm not so good today. I'm really not so good today because I'm very uncomfortable with a announcement that came out of the Department of Defense, and I'm going to call it the Department of Defense because that's what Congress calls it, that suggests that the department is going to waste, I believe it's going to be a waste, taxpayers' dollars going through a deep dive and review of the 8A contractors in the DoD program. I'm flummoxed. I'm run amok. I don't understand what the purpose is of that particular action, and so I'm a little challenged today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that was, I know one of the things we talked about in privately, but a question that I had, they just did a full scale SBA audit, and that deadline was on the 19th to have all the documentation in. Then on the 16th, that's when the Department of Defense Secretary made that announcement. My question to you is, what is the difference between those two audits? What are we looking at right now?
Well, I think one is a constitutionally aligned audit, and one is a Agenda 2025 aligned audit, right? And that's what we're talking about, right? The piggybacking that came out of the Treasury Department with their decision to audit the 8A program, right? Because, it's DEI and, let's go after everything that has the appearance of a race-based legacy or tail. And so the difference is, there was a constitutional consideration, in my humble opinion, right, for the SBA's effort to find out whether or not the program that they manage has some issues that need to be considered. The DOD effort is glomming on. The DOD effort is, trying to appease the big cheese, right? We're doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, right? And it's just, the righter you do the wrong thing, the wronger you become. And this lunacy has got to be railed in. It's got to be reined in, right? This is going to the spirit, right? The heart, the character of our nation. Right. And I, for one, am sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of watching the news scrolls and seeing the buffoonery that the world stage is seeing our country on. And I, for one, believe that it's about time for the first branch of government. I've once called it the fourth branch of government, but the first branch of government to raise its head and have its voice heard and say, you know what? We don't like separating children from their parents and putting them in concentration camp type experiences, right? We're uncomfortable with militarizing our cities, right? The first branch of government, right? And that branch, if you guys don't know, is we the people. Read the Declaration of Independence, right? That's the voice of the individuals that crafted and created the other three branches of government that you are so familiar with. They created the executive branch that's so in question right now. They created the legislative branch and they created the judicial branch, but they left in place their branch of government with the power and authority to eliminate any form of government that came in violation and in threat of the Constitution, of the happiness of the people of these United States of America. Dare I say, folks, we have reached that intersection, and it's time for the fourth branch, dare I say, the first branch of government to have its voice heard. And if it's got to start with me, let it be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's the why is the DoD why is the DoD focusing so heavily on the large sole source 8A contract specifically, and more they said over 20 million, but he did make a comment specifically about ANCs and the $100 million sole source. So why is that their focus? Why was that the comment made?
I can't really address buffoonery. You know what I mean? Yeah. I could come up with some really strong speculative ideas that may be close to true north, but as we've talked before, the righter you do the wrong thing, the wronger you become, right? Some very efficient experts in the 8A arena have done an analysis of the overtures that they've suggested represent the amount of fraud, waste, and abuse in the 8A program. Stan Lee's got a pretty comprehensive review that he's done in this exact same area, and it's nowhere near the $500 billion that they are trying to throw into the popular media as red meat to get their base excited, right? So it just, again, the writer, you do the wrong thing, the wronger you become, and I'm not going to try to figure out buffoonery. I'm just going to suggest that we need to do something about it, and we need to do something about it now. And oh, by the way, we have the power, like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, right? We've always had the power. We just need to click our heels together and walk into that voting booth and have our voice heard.
So essentially, you're saying that midterms is exactly where we shift the powers at.
And not just at the federal, right? Mm-hmm. It's the state and the local level elections as well, right? This is the time for the first branch of government to wake up, right? Get yourself involved, get engaged, find out who's on the ballot, find out what their position is, and make sure that it's supporting your vision for your community. Make sure that it's supporting your vision for these United States of America. And if it's one of those go-alongs to get along that been elected all of these years and ain't done nothing but like to go up to Washington and pontificate, get rid of them.
Is it anything that they should be doing in the early on, like right now, to be prepared?
And when you say they, who is the they that you speak of? Who is this they?
People. We the people. That's who the they I'm speaking of.
It's a function of educating yourself. It's a function of educating yourself beyond the stuff that's on your nightly news. I mean, Damian Marley said it best, right? If you're over 10 and you believe everything that you hear on CNN, you're in too deep, right? So you've got to go beyond the headlines, right? You got to go to sources that you can touch, you can feel, and you can reference to educate yourself about what these people believe, what their perspectives are. And once you get an educated position, then you create a coalition of like-minded people, right? You create the number of voters in your community necessary to move the needle. And then you go and get it done. And let's see what happens after an informed electorate goes through the process that we, the people, set up for them. Let's see what happens. I think that out of that will come definitely a more aware Congress, right? Congress will be on a swivel at that point, right? And let's see if the policies and actions that come out of an informed, a selected Congress, not by some pack, a selected Congress that was appointed by we the people, let's see if that produces a different kind of outcome. I think it will. I think it will produce an outcome that doesn't leave individuals like you and I to be imagining a veteran disaster response system because they're dismantling FEMA, right? I think it's going to be a policy grouping that's going to take into consideration the utilitarian interest of we the people. But let's give that a try and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So from your perspective, you're saying you think that right now or even in the past, the problem is that we the people are not speaking up. We're not doing our part in the ballots and voting, and that's why we are experiencing this trauma right now, this turbulence.
Yes, I mean there's been a concerted effort to dumb America down. And if you look at the percentage of voting age Americans that come out during any election, it underperforms, right? And it underperforms in a nation where, and I think Mr. Scott said it, or Mr. Smith rather, who gave testimony yesterday on the Hill. He said it best. He said, we've operated under the rule of law for so long that we take it for granted, right? And the truth of the matter is, the kind of ability of the first branch of government that I'm talking about to influence the trajectory of this nation is something that other nations don't enjoy, right? It's a capability that those people that are in Iran, that are out en masse, don't enjoy, right? And so we can't take this for granted, right? We can't take it for granted when, we got this taco treatment coming out of our executive branch, where people are concerned that America is not deal enabled because they'll chicken out at the last minute, right? We the people, right, have the ability to influence that, and that's an ability that other nations don't enjoy. And it's something that deserves defending, right? It's something that deserves protecting. And so when I raised my right hand and swore an oath to the Constitution, I swore an oath to something that I believed in then and I believe in now, because it afforded me and people who look like me an opportunity to have a better way of life. If I just gave it, put my shoulder to the plow, I could have a better way of life. And I think that that's a system that's worth preserving. And so I'm going to say this in a full and deep-throated voice to every red-blooded patriot that's within the sound of my voice. Wake up.
Indeed. Now, because of these disruptions, we understand in the attack on DEI, 8A, we understand that the only viable pathway, the only viable option for federal contractors is in the 1102 community is the SDVOSB that is capable and compliant and effective. Do you see this as a short, narrow window of opportunity for the veteran community, or do you see this as more of a rebalancing of powers, creating a more broader opportunity for way down the line after this administration?
Well, thank you for getting me out of the dark side and bringing me to the light of this conversation, because you and I have been espousing this idea for some time that America wants its veterans to be rich, wants it to be, dare I say, wealthy. And we've suggested that there was evidence of that fact in the form that all of the other preference programs were being disrupted, right? The small disadvantaged business program and so on and so forth. Ergo, the disabled veteran program is the only one that is a safe harbor, let's say it that way. And we call it a safe harbor in a season like this because the other side of this equation is our contracting officer community, right? The 1102 community. And they tend to be very, very risk averse, right? They don't want to be awarding contracts that they got to do extra work because you protest their stuff, right? So in this kind of an environment where contracts are being suspended because of these audits that have been ordered by the SBA, or, you know, some other reason, the centralization of work is causing stuff to fall out. These contracting officers are looking for a safe harbor. And that safe harbor today is service disabled veterans. There's no disturbing over here. And those service disabled veterans that are smart enough to learn how to scale to become bigger small businesses put themselves in a position to run the table. So hopefully that answered the question you were asking.
Yes, it does. And for the veterans who are asking, well, how do I do that? That's when you should join the Elite SDVOSB network, where you can get a little cotton in your ear and learn how to do things the correct way legally, lawfully, and compliant and in compliance. So, yeah.
I mean, that's one thing. The other thing, you know, I have developed a course. It's called the Cotton Method, shameless plug. And you can go out to the ability2.biz website, follow the information there to get yourself engaged in one of our upcoming cohorts. It'll be worth your time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, early on, last Friday, you know, I was doing this solo, and then I spoke on the fact that, you know, you were spearheading and rolling out the Elite SDVOSB network in Florida. Could you give us a, you know, a little bit of a teaser or update what they could expect? We know you spoke about the $50 billion opportunity that you're bringing to Florida. Could you just give us a little bit of teaser what to expect from this and the rollout?
Well, you know, it's a very simple service that I'm providing, right? And that is identifying a economic development solution that could be duplicated in communities across the nation. And we're starting with Florida as an epicenter because it's my hometown. And I know the geography very well. And that geography happens to have a couple of very important attributes. One, they have the geographic designation that counts. And in today's environment, that is the hub zone environment, which is a historically underutilized business district, and the opportunity zone environment, which is a construct that was continued out of the big, beautiful bill. So St. Petersburg has very rich geographic technology that takes advantage of two federal contracting or two federal enhancing programs. And what we're doing is we're showing the rest of the nation what a group of veterpreneurs could do if they partnered up with those communities to go out and acquire contracts and engineer a economic ecosystem that supports dynamic growth. The objective, at least the one that I've drawn in the sand, is to create $50 billion worth of contract awards in the state of Florida in 2026. That leaves me 11 months and days left to get it done. That's what's going to happen. We're going to actually allow you guys to look over our shoulder as we introduce that effort. We're going to let you watch it. And for those of you that are within the Tampa Bay area and want to be a part of it, keep your eyes peeled for information at the Elite website or information at my Core Ability 2 website. We're going to pilot it first and then launch it nationwide. So stay tuned.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. And, you know, we usually focus on federal contracting, but veterans offer a very unique capability. Not only do they have the federal contracting advantages, they also have advantages in regards to getting loans from the SBA, as well as what something that you what we had conversations about. You told me about how you initially got wind of federal contracting, which is, you had a franchise, the Vet Fran, and that's something that most veterans, including myself, until you told me that, I wasn't aware of the Vet Fran piece. Could you just speak a little bit about your experience with it and the opportunity that also presents for veteran organizations?
Yeah. I'm a stickler in the idea that first generation entrepreneurs should be given a proctor, right? An ushered approach to entrepreneurialism, right? Go in with your good idea as your first approach to entrepreneurialism out of the gate is not a great idea. And so franchising was what I selected as the approach. And at that particular time, they had the Patriot Express business loan. And in that situation, they were given a good piece of money. I don't remember exactly how much it was, but it was a nice piece of money to go ahead and start a franchise. And so I took advantage of that particular loan program and bought a franchise, and under the Vet Fran program. And that program still exists today. The model, I think, is something to the effect that the franchisors provide a Uber discount to the veterans for participating in the program. And under the Patriot Express program at that time, they were giving you access to a fully funded franchise if you put 10% down. And so I put my 10% down and I got the Patriot Express loan, and, the rest is history. I found my way to government contracting. And actually, you bring up an idea. We may want to bring that Patriot Express loan program back, because there are a lot of transitioning veterans who probably could take advantage of, franchises and domiciling them in some of these opportunity zone clusters that we're creating. Let's write that one down, Mr. Hill. Let's see if we can get some influence on that.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yeah, I love it. I love when the idea I know that when you think of it, it's like, oh, it's some there for sure. And
Well, what
yeah.
you asked me was I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, yeah, because the idea of, just bringing job opportunities and veterans doing it from different pathways is critical. And the fact that maybe the veteran don't want to do federal contracting, maybe they feel like it's too much for them. But what if they just want to open up a tropical smoothie or a gym or whatever? We want to be able to give them every avenue, a pathway possible to, build, generational wealth. So spreading awareness is definitely key.
And you asked me a question earlier that I wanted to double down a little bit on, because when you say veteran, people get a particular image in their mind, right? And more often than not, it's the homeless veteran, right? The will work for food kind of veteran. And so when you start talking about, the substance affected veteran, yada, yada, yada. So when you start talking about veteran in the minds of the average person, real talk, those are the images that come to the mind. But that's not the majority of our community, right? The majority of our community are some bad mamma jammas. And if you're an economic development leader and you're trying to design a community of the future, you want to start attracting veterans. You want to start attracting disabled and retired veterans. You know why? Because we come to the table with attributes your average citizens don't come to the table with. Right? One of the first things we come to the table with, our health care is covered, right? So that's an immediate burden for us and our family that doesn't go on the community. We often walk in with a pension, right? Some of them are nominal pensions. Some of them are pretty healthy pensions, right? We've got a home loan guarantee so that we can buy property and immediately start contributing to the tax base. And if we are a disabled veteran, right, we have access to the VR&E program. We have access to Public Law 10650 and 109461. That's been responsible for over $350 billion worth of wealth transfer into the coffers of veterans. So if you're a community development person, and you're thinking about how you design an insulated community of the future, I'd be looking at veterans. I'd be looking at disabled veterans, because not only are they bringing those economic, considerations to the table, but in many instances, they've gone through a, training, conditioning process that's called the Uniform Code of Military Justice, right? They've gone through a community conditioning process that allowed them to become comfortable with peaceful neighborhoods, right? And so you're going to get people coming into your communities that are going to be advocating for the kind of safety and security that you want your children and your children's children to grow up in. So that's my little advertisement, right? My little, a promo for economic development leaders embracing the veteran business ecosystem, because it's worth your attention.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to touch a little bit more about the opportunity zone, but you brought something to my attention that I wasn't even aware of when you said that when people hear you say veterans, or when they hear me say veterans, they instantly think of the negative components of veterans. And in my mind's eye, I'm like, that never even popped. I understand it's real and there. We understand it's there, but it never percolated in my mind that that's how they would view us. You know what I mean? Because it's a lot of successful veteran business owners, a lot of successful service disabled veteran, and not all the service disabled veteran business owners wear their disabilities, on their sleeve. A lot of them are silenced, and so just when you said that, it kind of like shed some light on some things that I feel that we need
their biases.
Yeah.
Right. There are biases out there that need to be affected. And yes, if you ask the average, person that, they're going to say no. But in their quiet time, and I know their quiet time because I've been advocating for veterans for over 20 years now. Right. Mm-hmm. I've had the conversation, and I've had to correct them and let them know that all veterans aren't on drugs. Right. Yeah. All veterans aren't alcoholic. All veterans aren't mentally challenged. I've had to correct that with a cross segment of this population. And so, is that the default? The average person wouldn't admit it. But if you ask them, what are they doing for the veterans in their community beyond saying thank you for your service on Veterans Day? Right. What are they really doing for the men and women that gave the pound of flesh for the freedoms that we enjoy? Right. And the answer to that question is going to be, well, I say thank you for your service on Veterans Day. Right. We need more. We need more. And when I say we need more, I'm in the process of authoring the Patriot's Guide to Avoiding Civil War 2.0. Stay tuned for that one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was going to ask you, can you give us a little bit more? But yeah, I think we, the audience need to come back if they want to learn more, or whenever you release that. I know that that's something exciting to definitely talk about. Now, I want to go back a little bit about the opportunity zone, because you spoke so liberally about it. That's something that's not in the ordinary conversation, everyday conversation. Could you just speak a little tiny bit about the opportunity zone and what that represents?
Well, there is a opportunity zone insiders group that you can suss out on YouTube or Google. The opportunity zones are, and I was about to tell a lie, right? Because my undergraduate is in accounting, and I'll tell anybody who will ask or listen that the concentration was in forensic accounting. So I know a little bit about the opportunity zone, but that's not my bailiwick. That's not my expertise. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask the audience to go and listen to what the experts are saying about what can be done with that zone, and then come and talk to me about investing those dollars in my veteran businesses, right? Why you should be investing those dollars in my veteran businesses that are reshoring manufacturing assets, and your investment becomes a part of the capital stack that grows tax free in these opportunity zones, right? Let's holler at me about that stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Guys, and if this conversation has been impactful for you, I ask that you share this, like it, repost it, and stay warm through this storm. Have a great weekend. I'm Ratwan Hill, and that is the Mr. Walter Cotton III. Until next time, guys, we are out.